Israel's innovation ecosystem under pressure. For our next case study, consider a paradox in national development. The country that faces the most severe threats often produces the most remarkable innovations. Israel's existence has been under continuous challenge since its founding in 1948. Yet rather than constraining growth, this pressure created the perfect conditions for technological breakthroughs that would reshape global industries. The starting conditions for Israel presented extraordinary challenges. Born amid conflict, the nascent state found itself surrounded by hostile neighbors, with virtually no natural resources and a landscape two-thirds desert. The new nation absorbed diverse immigrant populations, refugees speaking different languages, practicing varied cultural traditions, and bringing disparate skill sets. This created both integration challenges and a uniquely diverse talent pool, setting the stage for an innovation ecosystem where adversity became fuel for creativity. Israel transformed these constraints into advantages. While most nations would struggle under the burden of spending nearly 6% of GDP annually on defense, compared to 1 to 2% in most developed countries, Israel converted this necessity into an innovation catalyst. Like a pressure cooker that intensifies flavors through contained heat and pressure, Israel's existential challenges compress talent, necessity, and urgency into a powerful force for technological advancement. This continuous pressure created a national mindset where failure carried existential consequences. When survival hangs in the balance, problem-solving acquires urgency and depth. Solutions must work effectively under tight resource constraints. The environment fostered an innovation ecosystem where improvisation became second nature and conventional thinking faced constant challenge. The Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, function as the country's most powerful talent incubator. Unlike voluntary service models, Israel's mandatory military service creates a democratic talent pipeline where citizens from diverse backgrounds receive advanced technical training, leadership experience, and responsibility for critical systems at a young age. Elite technology units like 8,200, the Military Intelligence Corps, produce founders of successful tech startups at remarkable rates. These units combine high-stakes problem-solving, team-based approaches to complex challenges, and authorization to make consequential decisions early in one's career. Veterans enter civilian life with technical skills and exceptional confidence and risk tolerance, qualities essential for entrepreneurship. Building upon this military foundation, Israel's government made strategic decisions to accelerate innovation through direct investment. The Yazma program, launched in the early 1990s, addressed the critical gap in early-stage funding by providing seed capital and tax incentives to venture capital funds, encouraging both domestic and foreign investment in Israeli tech startups. Yazma's effectiveness stemmed from its structure. The government provided 40% of funding for new venture capital funds, while allowing private investors to buy out the government's share at nominal interest if successful. This design aligned incentives perfectly. Government absorbed initial risk, while ensuring successful funds would ultimately be privately owned. Before Yazma, Israel had virtually no venture capital industry. Within a decade, it became a global tech investment hub, with hundreds of millions flowing into Israeli startups annually. Israel's water technology sector exemplifies turning limitations into exportable expertise. In a water-scarce country, necessity drove innovation. Engineers and scientists developed pioneering technologies in desalination, water recycling, and precision irrigation. Drip irrigation techniques revolutionized global agriculture by reducing water usage while increasing crop yields. Today, these technologies have global applications as climate change makes water management increasingly crucial worldwide. The cultural foundations of Israel's innovation ecosystem feature what locals call chutzpah, a boldness that manifests as willingness to question authority, challenge established thinking, and propose unorthodox solutions. Even junior employees feel empowered to challenge their managers' thinking when they believe they have better solutions. This trait extends to education, where classroom dynamics encourage questioning and debate rather than passive acceptance. The Talmudic tradition, emphasizing debate and multiple interpretations, has influenced Israeli educational approaches. Students learn to examine problems from multiple angles and argue positions vigorously, skills that translate directly to innovation contexts. The synergy between military technology and civilian applications creates a powerful innovation driver. Technologies initially developed for defense frequently find commercial applications. Computer vision systems developed for border security apply to autonomous vehicles. Cybersecurity techniques refined for military networks become commercial products protecting global financial systems. Communication technologies designed for battlefield conditions evolve into robust civilian systems. Despite ongoing regional conflicts, Israel's tech ecosystem demonstrates remarkable resilience. An equal weight index of the top 70 Israeli tech companies traded on NASDAQ rose by 15.8% in 2024, outperforming the NASDAQ 100 equal weight index at 9.4%. This outperformance occurred despite multiple active conflicts that might reasonably disrupt economic activity. While other emerging tech ecosystems falter during uncertainty, Israel's innovation machine gains strength from adversity. This paradoxical relationship between pressure and performance reveals something profound about innovation cultures. Constraints, paired with appropriate institutional structures and cultural mindsets, can accelerate rather than impede development. The lessons from Israel's experience challenge conventional development thinking. Resource constraints, security threats, and geographical limitations can transform into comparative advantages through strategic policy, cultural adaptation, and human capital investment. Israel's experience highlights the importance of institutional design. Programs like Yazma succeeded not merely by directing government funding toward innovation, but through clear incentives, transition mechanisms, and market alignment. The government played a catalytic role while ensuring private markets ultimately directed investment decisions, avoiding pitfalls that often plague government-led development initiatives. Botswana's resource curse immunity. Unlike Israel's technological transformation, Botswana confronted the ultimate development trap: massive natural resource discovery in a poor, newly independent country. Nearly every nation facing this scenario has descended into corruption, conflict, or economic disaster. Yet somehow Botswana charted a completely different path. When Botswana achieved independence in 1966, its prospects appeared grim. With only 12 kilometers of paved roads and a per capita income of $80, it ranked among the world's poorest nations. Infrastructure was virtually non-existent in this landlocked desert country. Then came what would typically spell disaster. Just 1 year after independence, massive diamond deposits were discovered beneath Botswana's arid soil. History offered a sobering prediction through the resource curse, the transformation of natural wealth into political instability and economic distortion. From Nigeria to Venezuela to the Democratic Republic of Congo, the pattern repeated. Resource discovery followed by corruption, authoritarian governance, and economic collapse. Botswana faced overwhelming odds. Newly independent with untested institutions, surrounded by political turmoil, and suddenly flush with valuable resources. This combination had led to catastrophe elsewhere. The question wasn't whether Botswana would develop, but whether it could avoid the fate of so many others. Botswana's trajectory changed through deliberate choices. While other nations accepted exploitative arrangements with foreign companies, Botswana's leadership negotiated Botswana, a genuine 50-50 partnership with De Beers. This arrangement ensured the nation retained significant control and benefits from its natural wealth, like a gardener carefully tending valuable soil rather than allowing others to strip it bare. The partnership yielded remarkable results. Approximately 80 cents of every diamond revenue dollar flowed directly to the government, a dramatic departure from colonial-era extraction models that plagued other resource-rich African nations. Unlike many countries that launch spending sprees following resource windfalls, Botswana maintained strict fiscal discipline. The country kept its debt-to-GDP ratio remarkably low, projected at just 24.5% in 2024. Where neighbors allowed diamond wealth to fund vanity projects or enrich elites, Botswana directed revenues toward public infrastructure, education, and healthcare, systematically addressing development gaps that existed at independence. Botswana's leadership also recognized the temporary nature of diamond revenues. The Pulla Fund, established in 1994, invested diamond revenues abroad, preserving wealth for future generations while reducing economic distortions and providing a buffer against global shocks. This approach mirrors Israel's recently established Citizens Fund for natural gas revenues, though Botswana's decades-older fund demonstrates the long-term benefits of such discipline. Equally important was Botswana's commitment to democratic governance. While neighboring countries cycled through coups and authoritarian regimes, Botswana maintained democratic elections and peaceful transfers of power. The country established independent courts, protected property rights, and created transparent governance systems that constrained corruption and fostered economic development. This political stability created a virtuous cycle. With predictable governance and sound economic management, Botswana attracted investment beyond diamonds. The government maintained consistent policies rather than the erratic shifts common in countries where political power becomes a means to capture resource wealth. The transformation was profound. Botswana evolved from extreme poverty to middle-income status in a single generation. For decades, it maintained economic growth averaging 5% annually. Remarkable for any nation, particularly one starting from such disadvantaged conditions. Today's Botswana bears little resemblance to the impoverished country of 1966. Botswana's status as Africa's longest continuous democracy speaks volumes. While resource wealth typically undermines democratic governance by enabling governments to fund themselves without taxing citizens, Botswana used its revenues to strengthen democratic institutions rather than weaken them. Botswana's success offers crucial lessons for developing nations. First, the quality of institutions before resource discovery matters enormously. Early commitment to democratic principles created constraints on power that prevented resource capture. Second, negotiating advantageous terms with multinational corporations is essential. Botswana ensured diamonds primarily benefited Botswana's people. Third, fiscal discipline remains crucial even during resource booms. By avoiding debt and excessive spending, Botswana created resilience against inevitable price fluctuations. Fourth, strategic investment in public goods creates foundations for broader economic development beyond resource extraction. Finally, planning for the post-resource era through sovereign wealth funds and economic diversification demonstrates a long-term vision often lacking in resource-dependent economies. This approach treats natural resource wealth as a means to build sustainable economic foundations rather than an end itself. Botswana isn't perfect. The country still faces significant challenges, including income inequality, HIV or AIDS, and the need for further economic diversification. Its model hasn't been fully replicated elsewhere, suggesting specific cultural, historical, and institutional factors played important roles in its success. Yet Botswana's transformation represents perhaps the clearest case of a country defying resource curse predictions. When diamond deposits were discovered in 1967, conventional wisdom would have predicted instability, economic distortion, and possible conflict. Instead, Botswana achieved decades of democratic governance, economic growth, the leadership psychology pattern,